Hi, Ankit, and welcome to the Digital Premier League.
Thank you, Vikas. Thank you, Sunil. And thank you, Team Social Beat, for having me here.
Absolutely. So we'll get started with a quick introduction, Ankit. I'll do the honors, and we have Meghna as well, who'll be moderating along with me.
Sure.
So Ankit is currently the digital marketing and the head of marketing for Indiabulls Housing as well as Dhani, and he's been leading the entire digital efforts, the PR efforts for the entire Indiabulls group. And over the last decade, he has worked across various products and services like housing finance, real estate, asset management, personal finance, e-commerce, and now playing a very crucial role in the digital side as well. He's led multiple successful digital-first campaigns for the Indiabulls group, notably Indiabulls e-home loans, which is actually India's first completely online home loan solution, and of course Indiabulls Dhani, which is one of the fastest growing digital apps now in the fintech space, and now the health tech space as well, and we'll talk more about that. And apart from the focus on digital, he's also been an integral part across other facets of marketing, including brand management, media planning and buying, as well as PR as well. So it's a pleasure to have you, Ankit. Welcome again.
Thank you. Thank you, Vikas. Thank you for that long introduction.
Absolutely. I think you have a amazing career over the last decade or so. So I think that's really our first question as well. I think you've actually seen the entire BFSI industry over the last 10, 12 years, right? And it's actually changed a lot over that period. So would you like to share a bit about how your journey has been in that, and how have you seen the entire BFSI space evolve over the last 10 years?
Yeah, sure. So I will, specifically keep it from the marketing and digital marketing point of view. And so that's point number one. The other thing I want to say is that I'll keep it candid. So it's very natural for people to know what's been there.
Absolutely.
And not give you guys a lot more bookish responses. I don't have that, so I want to keep it natural. Yeah, I have been associated with, the BFSI sector for the last 10 good years. And the difference and the change has been drastic from a marketing point of view. And specifically, I'll tell you a couple of things. The first and most important thing is that marketing was always like a support function. It was always like a function that's there, but not very, very critical for a lot more BFSI companies. For the first 5 years of my career, and it was there as a need-based product, need-based department. The last
Yes.
5 years, we have become one of the most important departments, and have been started, which is a very, very good thing for being as a marketer. And a lot of that credit goes to digital coming into the picture. And when digital comes into the picture, it brings in a lot more cost savings. It brings in a lot more transparency. It brings in a lot more, data-driven approaches, and therefore you're able to measurability kicks in, and therefore the department has become a lot more profit engine rather than becoming a cost center for an organization. And therefore the need and the dependencies are higher, and therefore it is a very, very critical role that people in the marketing team have now started experiencing. That's very, very important. The other thing is, and this is specifically for a very BFSI organization, because traditionally BFSI companies are very sales driven, very people driven, very offline process oriented driven. And the change now with people, and I think it's everyone understands it very simply, because it's because people have also changed the way they consume, operate, platforms, media, and how technology. I think technology is one very important reason why things have changed from a marketing point of view as well. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so that's about it. When I started, honestly, I used to do like BTL leaflets, like, making sure that the leaflet which is reaching a branch is reaching on time, and ensuring that, and then we had a cycle of 3 months of changing. Actually, we had a cycle of 1 year. Maybe we used to revamp all our sets of creatives, and this used to happen like twice a year, which is, one festive time, and then once again in the quarter begins, so maybe Jan, Feb, March, and that's how the 2 cycles, and that's when you should do a large amount of your creative changes. With things now, we are actually doing creative every second day. There's a new creative, and we feel it's already reached its exposure limits,
Saturation.
and yeah, and it's stop performing. So as small as those kind of change things to, like I was saying, overall the department is becoming more and more critical, and which is very, very good for all of us as we're progressing. Yeah.
No, absolutely. I think it's found its place in his boardroom, as I think the sum of what you're saying, right? It's become
Yeah.
part of the growth. It's part of the growth journey that any business needs to have the strong marketing and digital team.
Yeah, so I think you put it very nicely, because it's made its space in the boardroom, and yeah, in the company. Yes.
I think Ankit, very interesting actually, which brings us actually to the next question. Maybe you can give us a little more idea. I think you've been into this industry for a decade plus now, and it'd be great to understand how did you all leverage digital in the earlier days versus now? Like, what was your marketing mix then versus now?
Sure. So I think we were always doing digital from, I think, 2013 onwards. We were started doing digital, 2013, 14, but obviously in its most raw manner, and where likes were more important than anything else. And what kind of likes does my page have versus anyone else have. So, and then there was an era that moved into Google search. So the search was the most important platform that anyone could ever do or use. And and I think that's when we all mastered search, and then we realized Google has a new Google has a, it's changing its algorithms and all of that. So I think so when search, social media, and SEO, search in the sense search engine marketing, and SEO. These were the three. Social media may also, it was more about engagement, or maybe just about likes and shares and views and clicks, maybe a little bit on clicks, but that's the way we started digital. And it was in 2015 or 16 when we launched our first e-home loan process, and Indiabulls that way has been pretty fast to visionary towards seeing what the market is going to look like, thanks to its understanding of the overall real estate and financial markets. So we started developing the first e-home loan process, and good thing was that we could actually disburse a loan completely online, and that too in 2016-17, and that's why we won a lot of awards that time, and to be coined as India's first e-home loan process. And yeah, so that's how we started moving towards a journey fulfillment process. However, now things have even evolved further. Now we're not only talking about someone doing a journey, but it is also about engagement, retention, cross sell, upsell, and so many other things. So I think we've seen interesting stuff on digital over the last few years. I remember a time when we used to do a lot more contextual and festive based marketing. So every festival we wanted to create that, and I think there was and like every industry sees cycles of newer things that people do. So there was a era of, like I said, there was an era of search engine optimization, there was an era of search engine marketing, then there was an era of Facebook and social media marketing and being contextual, and now there is an era which is the most important, is when it's come, we call it as the business era of digital, where we are now seeing how digital becomes not only just branding or cost center, but like a business center for all of us.
ROI.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And apart from the home loan piece that you spoke about, right? What are some of the other things that you recall from the early days, or even 3-4 years ago? What was the kind of innovation that drove success for Indiabulls?
So e-home loans was one of the largest success stories. We also felt like, and like I said, I think search, we used to ensure, one of the very interesting, we used to ensure that we are on the top three positions of Google, 90% share of voice. And no, that used to really work for us, because that helped us penetrate a market which was so so driven by banks as a home loan industry. And so in that time, penetrating as an NBFC was also a challenge. And we ensured that we are there where everyone is searching for. And so the two strategies that we implemented were to be consistently visible and in shorter formats across the year. for people, and therefore we ensured that we had a 90% share of voice in the top 3 positions for Google for a long period of time. We took like those small prominent positions in Economic Times and Times of India, even on print, to create those.
Right.
And that time the whole experience was a lot more cohesive, in the sense how offline would merge a lot into online, and we would try to synergize all our efforts from offline and online together. And yeah, that's how we grew, and those were interesting. And the other, I was saying, we had this whole phase of making films on every festive occasion. So whether it's a Women's Day and a Father's Day, or a Holi or Independence Day, and we had this whole branding opportunity, because that time, Indiabulls Housing Finance luckily was the second largest. In fact,
Yes.
even today, it is the second largest housing finance company from an NBFC point of view. We had the whole. There was a need for building the brand recall and trust, and therefore we used to do a lot of these activities at that point in time that I recall very clearly. But 2017, no, 2019, 2017 is right here. 2017 last, is when we launched Dhani. Was a remarkably changing experience for Indiabulls and me.
No, that's a good segue into our next question.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's sort of, when Dhani came in, it's changed the whole spectrum, right? And the fact that you all have 2 huge parts to it, one is health and the other is wealth. How did you all come about this whole thought, and what's the larger plan? Where do you all see it going from here?
So honestly, when this concept of Dhani came in, and this is, like I said, we're talking about 2017, and that also when genuinely no one in the app industry was disbursing loans via an app, completely online, and as a team, even we used to feel, will this happen? Will this really work? Like, will people actually get money? And honestly, it took us also a couple of months to accept the way it fell in place. And I think that was a great time, because we were a single product focused organization, and we launched Dhani with Dhoni, which was coincidentally a very, very nice brand ambassador that came into, and a lot of people also associated Dhani with Dhoni, as if it was Dhoni's own organization and own venture. That gave us actually a very good lift. So sometimes I feel some brand associations were like perfect for us, and this one definitely was one of the perfect brand association. And he's associated with there's a whole trust angle, and the whole honest angle, and a whole performer kind of an angle which comes with Dhoni, and which definitely reflected well with our brand. And so we launched with Dhoni. We launched something called as we had a single communication line which used to just say phone se loan, and it was so perfect that we didn't need to have any other word to even in our campaign, and one line saying phone se loan in 3 minutes did the whole world for us. And we did a couple of interesting ads, and genuinely we saw a lot of traction. And India, if you compare globally, is a credit thrived market. There is a lot of demand for credit in the country, and therefore people and a lot of credit that people don't get through channels which are either long, inconvenient, or sometimes people are deprived because they don't have like one of the documents in the correct format, and so we could channelize that kind of an audience, which we knew we could assess with Dhani's score, and basis the other documents that the customer provides, and we could definitely, we started this process, and we saw great success. Dhani was one of the top most downloaded app globally in the fintech space for the first 1 year, and continues to be amongst the top 3 or 4 Google apps even today, as we speak. So so over to you.
No, absolutely. And I think, as you rightly said, even right now, I was actually just checking the Play Store. It is one of the fastest growing apps in this space. So what are some of the things, apart from Dhoni and other brand associations, what do you think are some of the things that have helped retain users on the app on Dhani?
So, retention. I think, like I say, Dhani has been one of the most exciting products, because we evolved from being a one product to a multi-product organization. from a one product, which we, so early days, the whole intention was to acquire a customer. Sooner we realized that it's not only about acquiring, and it is also about retaining a customer and, upselling a customer and cross-selling a customer. And therefore we built in a lot more products in the app itself, a lot more products which people could use in their day-to-day lives. For example, we introduced a wallet, and the payments functionality, and which is primarily is one of our largest engagement tool, because it brings in features like mobile recharge, electricity bill payment, etc. And definitely those are things that people would come on the app at least once or twice a month. The other thing that we also did is we started providing all details of a particular loan in the app itself. So we never wanted a customer to call our customer care team or put into an email platform, or we wanted everything to be like accessible on his phone, and therefore we could drive people to be hooked on to our app and not delete our app, because people would want to see their loan details, and we have that accessible. Look at the statements, look at when the money got deducted, whether it's got credited. People get that comfort level of seeing it as a statement on their apps.
Yeah.
And so these are basic things that we did. So like I said, the first basic thing that we did was to ensure that customers post customer acquisition journey, which is is built in perfectly in the app. The second thing we ensured was to bring in features that people could use their money for, which is the payments angle. And then and then as we grew, we came back with games, which is as recent as 2020. After pandemic broke in, we realized that there is a lot more free time that people have in their lives, and especially at home, and therefore we were swift enough to plug in like 8 or 9 games on the app within a span of like 1.5 months of the pandemic breaking in. And therefore in June, July, August quarter, if from the latest report of AppsFlyer, we were amongst the top 90 percentile apps in terms of retention and re-engagement. And so that was, that's how we've been. And I think there's no one strategy. We have to be continuously have our ears to the ground and continuously see how we can evolve, and what the market is bringing to you as an opportunity today, and therefore work towards it, because it's so fast paced, as and we all understand that it's so fast paced. If you do not evolve your products, your processes, the way you operate, you would be stagnant, and probably someone else would be ahead of you. So yeah, that's on.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, many of these things seem basic, but actually many, even banking apps today, don't have all the features that you want, right? And I think it's taken them a long time to figure out even the basic elements. So I think one of the things maybe you're being modest about is that Dhani figured out many of these basic things early on and got them into the app so that users actually stayed on, and that's amazing.
Luckily, our management is very, very inclined towards technology as a business, and and therefore a lot of things move faster than others, and that's one way that keeps us on our toes, to ensure that we are and we are very, very swift to respond to things, and that's core because of the management's vision, and and their understanding and of the capabilities or of the potential of the platform, and that's why it is like this. So we've invested very, very heavily on our technology now.
Visibly, yeah.
I think it's very essential also, because you're coming up with things like on the go, so it's definitely needed. But I think that also brings me to the next question, Ankit. You'll have so many things on the app, right? So you'll have games, which was recently introduced. You have Super Saver. You have now there's doctor and there's medicine. So wanted to understand, how do you promote these various verticals to the audience in terms of content personalization, and how do you market to multiple audience segments using this?
A very interesting data point that I will share here with you is, a person who's involved with you on your app or with your product is most likely to take your second product as well. Okay, and this is and that is the easiest to do, right? If you have done one experience good with one product of one brand, you are likely to take another product of the same brand as well. So that was the core of introducing more products on the app itself, and that was the core of not creating multiple apps. Okay, because it is not easy to acquire a customer. It is not easy to, it is easy to lose out a customer. It is not easy to acquire a customer. So the core and therefore we wanted to only have one app. That was point number one. And we believe that having multiple products in the app, because people would have different needs at different points in time, and therefore they would pick it. We never oversell our products of just overboard and selling one customer the other product overtly, because that's not what the approach is. The approach is that the bouquet of products are available for you, and you may choose, not choose, and we also offer a lot of products free for first 30 days, because we believe that people need to experience our products, and if the experience is good, the chances of them returning and becoming a subscriber or a customer to product A will be much higher. So that is, and it's a natural evolution, so we've always been a financial services company, and we had products like loans, wallet, and so stocks for that matter, and we've evolved and we've just added new products into the sphere. Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the new products you added is Dhani Doctor, right? And Dhani Doctor medicines and attached together, which is very different for a fintech player, right? You've been in the finance space, loans, credit, wallets, super saver, all of that. That makes a lot of sense. How did Dhani Doctor fit into this, and what is the vision behind that over the next the next version of the app?
Yeah, Vikas. So Dhani Healthcare is a natural. So a lot of people didn't know, but Indiabulls was always into pharmaceuticals as well. We always had a division of pharmaceuticals, and like I said, it's the vision of our management, and it's the farsightedness of them, looking at the need of the hour. When COVID-19 broke in, we saw a lot more people moving into teleconsultation as a model, and and we see there was a need gap, and we also realized that we have the potential of putting this up, because we already have an organization which is working into pharmaceuticals, and therefore it was a natural progression therein. But it was our tech teams who could built in this product really quick, in a couple of months for that matter, and we've launched the all India teleconsultation model, which is by far, I think, one of the best ones in terms of it provides people instant consultation, which is what is our key differentiator, and we don't believe that a person should be going through forms and forms of a chatbot kind of an experience, or a form experience, which basically, if a person is in pain or if he's looking at something, he hates to be doing that process, and we're actually replicating the same process on an online version. Or we also experience that why would someone move into a Dhani app for a doctor consultation versus going to a clinic, is because of sheer convenience, and we didn't want any hindrance in that convenience, and we would want it to be like as straightforward as it. So it's, if someone experiences the product, it's as simple as just going to the app, entering your name, number, and then clicking, and you could get connected to a doctor instantly. What we've now introduced is one-time document validation, so that we know the customer is the KYC of a customer, but the next time you don't even have to do that. You can just click a button and you can get connected to a doctor instantly, and that's the USP of our product. So going back to your question, point number one is that healthcare was a natural progression, and we were timely. It was timed well with COVID-19, and it was an opportune moment for us to be into this business. It was the robust technology and my team and our team that could pull it off. And yes, we are here, and we introduced, and now Dhani Healthcare and Dhani Money are the two core pillars of the Dhani app.
Yeah, health and wealth together, and that's a perfect combination. And I think we were discussing this earlier as well offline, that when you can connect with a doctor in 10 seconds, then obviously that changes your behavior as well, right? Earlier you would go online and search, or earlier you would find the phone number of your doctor, call them up and figure out. And today it's going to change a lot of behaviors in different scenarios. And since it's 24/7, I think, yeah, it's amazing to see how that's going to scale and grow in the coming months as well.
Yeah, and we're excited. We are also we're seeing a good response on the product, even if it's in its early days. We are seeing a lot of people trying Dhani Doctor, on a daily basis, and that's encouraging, definitely. We're going to couple it up with, medicines delivery in 1 hour, and that's going to be, another change in the way people consume healthcare today. People order medicines and it gets delivered in 24 hours, most likely. Here we're going to have people getting delivered medicines in like 1 hour, and so basically we've built on two factors purely on convenience and trust, and that's the two plays that we're building the healthcare business for.
Fascinating.
Yeah, very fascinating, very exciting, and very challenging because every day there is so many things to pick up and and do. And sometimes you feel by the end of the day that the day has just gone and you've not done really what you could have. So yeah.
I think the key is in innovation anyway. So I think as long as we're thinking for our consumers, I think you're on the right track. But in fact, thinking of consumer behavior as well brings us to the next question. So post-COVID, of course, consumer behavior has changed in the last few months. And considering Dhani is an app also offers credits, right? So there's a credit line, there is cashback on shopping, there's 5% cashback. How have you all seen that change? Has it helped?
Yeah, so we saw significant. We launched a product considering shopping post-COVID, festive season coming up. We introduced a product which is the Super Saver product, offering 5% cashback. And interestingly, we saw about 100,000 customers, 200,000 customers actually signing up for it in the first month itself. So yeah, that definitely gives us signs of positivity, and people are looking at shopping, and and we see there is revival. The need for credit was always there even during the COVID times. So we always saw about thousands of people applying for credit even during COVID times, because that was the need of the hour. And I don't see that was we didn't see a dip in the need for money or for credit during this time. So the good thing is that shopping has also revived, and the maybe the need that time would have been more for essentials and more for regular stuff, and this is more on building for additional sales or additional products that people want to buy. So that's the difference that we're seeing. But there is openness towards picking up online products and picking up online products in terms of finance products like credit lines and all of that. So that's a positive sign for all of us.
Sure. Yeah, in fact, yesterday we were talking to the CEO of Sundram Mutual as well, and one of the key things he spoke about from his previous experiences as well is that when you cross-sell a product, it's much more affordable because the customer already trusts you. There's already a factor of them believing in the Dhani app, and then of course there's so many things that you could do. Are there other new products that are in the pipeline that we could expect, Ankit?
No, so there is a concept of lifetime value. Okay, and as people, as marketers, a lot of times it becomes difficult explaining a very high cost of acquisition for customers, on digital, and
Yes.
that's when the whole LTV model pulls in. And and like I said, that when a customer is acquired, re-engaging him and cross-selling him is much cheaper, and therefore over a period of say 10 years, the value that you can drive with him will be considerably higher. Then so we should not get swayed away by seeing an initial high cost of acquisition. We should be looking at how do I build, even if I've acquired a customer say 2x or 3x, maybe say 10x higher also, we have to ensure and see how do I build in an experience with a customer that he retains with me and stays with me for the next 10 years. And if you do that, you will be able to get 100x out of him than the 10x that we are initially swayed off. So and other way of looking at it is that you think of getting a customer at say 1x, and then start building and then lose a customer, and then start getting another customer, and then start getting another. That's a never-ending journey, and that's a short-lived concept and phenomena. So we should always live and believe in building a lifetime value of a customer who can deliver us value over a period of time. and that's the way it is. And interestingly, we have seen numbers talking about it. We've seen how it is 1/10 the cost of cross selling versus acquiring a new customer, and it's actual numbers that I'm talking.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
I think, Ankit, so another quick question that's coming to my mind is, I remember you spoke about different videos, right? So for every festive campaign, you're going to have different videos for Women's Day. How is that approach now? So top of the funnel versus performance. How do you go about it in today's era?
Yeah, so I think for Dhani, it's slightly early while we are moving towards that direction. When it was, like I said, when Indiabulls Housing was there, it was a lot more supported by the offline channels, and digital used to be a supporting medium because it was already doing so well. With Dhani, it is a large dependencies on acquisition primarily right now, and I'm sure by the next quarter, we will be, it would have been 2-3 years of Dhani, we would be in a position to start doing these campaigns which are more of building value for the brand, and and just about recall and a feel good factor for customers. We'll plug in these, but I am foreseeing this in the next, by 2021, that we will make this as a regular practice. Currently, genuinely, the focus has been to build in the initial base for Dhani.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And one of the themes we've been discussing, Ankit, is hyperscaling, right? Scaling so fast that obviously things break as well. And I'm sure you've experienced that. But what are some of the mistakes you think brands should avoid when hyperscaling? Any ideas, suggestions, inputs there that you've seen from your experiences?
So I think we are failing and we're learning. It's always day one for us. Every day is genuinely day one because we keep thinking, where are we going wrong or what are we doing? And a lot of time things will break, and a lot of things. But it's how you mend it, how you correct yourself, and how quickly you can do it. I think there are 2 points here, okay, and there are 2 schools of thought. There are schools of thought where people say, incubate a product for a year, test it, build it, put into regression tests and all of that, and then launch a product. Okay, by that time you realize that the market has already changed.
Correct.
So, and then there is this whole and then there is a thought of like, just putting out a product which is half baked, that people will reject it on day one. So I think the benefit or the right thing is to figure out the right balance. And when do you not keep your product incubated, and for example, with the healthcare business, we could have spent a year and built the product and then come out with an extremely powerful product. But who knows by then what would have changed in the industry, and how we would rather build as we go and we improve as we go, and we and put in those features. So that's the way to go in. So the mistakes, like you were saying, things that we should, one is that we should not launch the product too early, which is half baked, that people reject it like on day one. B, we should not wait for too long, and the exactly opposite, it's not that we should wait for like ages and try and build the best product, and it's too late for us to accept it. So we should be at the we should find that right balance and go ahead with that. The other thing is we should try and be as customer experience and customer friendliness. Customer experience should be number one in anyone's thing, because a returning customer is always the best customer, and therefore being as much transparent as we can be, and being as much open and clear to a customer is something. So don't try and take shortcuts in terms of customers, because that's also going to be short-lived.
Correct.
So yeah, these 2 things should be kept in mind, especially in this fast-paced environment.
Sure. And one of the things that always amazes us when we work with your team is that you are obviously part of a large organization that's been around for 2 decades, but you still function almost like a startup, right? So how does that come about? How does that culture get built in?
We are a startup.
In a larger enterprise? Yeah.
We are a startup only. We're a
startup within a larger company, right? So
we're a startup from day one. I think it's in the DNA of Indiabulls. everyone, we behave like a startup, we act like a startup, we make mistakes like a startup, and we learn and we scale up like a startup. So I think that's how the DNA has been in the organization, because so unless and obviously Dhani is one of the newer products, so you see it much more here than you see it in the other places in the organization. But as at an overall organization level also, we behave very we are very dynamic in terms of what we do. With Dhani, it is like 10x of that, because Dhani is genuinely like a 2017 born app and product, and it comes clearly from the way our management and the vision of our leaders has been. So I mean, that's how it is.
No, it's amazing to see that. I think not too many companies manage to keep that startup and agility alive, right? The startup culture, agility, and ability to also accept failures and say, okay, we learned something from this and move on. I think that's definitely amazing to see.
That's the question that we get from being a 2-decade-old company, of making mistakes, of still making mistakes. Like a lot of startups won't get that benefit, but we get that benefit because we have a strong backing with an organization. However, we can't take that for granted at any point in time, and therefore we have to be on our toes every time and figure see. Yeah. So, and that's the culture of the team also. A lot of our teams are very young,
Yes.
and that's how the teams have also been put together. Yeah.
So in fact, so Ankit, I think based on the whole experimentation and startup phase, I think vernacular marketing is something I know we've all experimented with, and you all have for sure. What is your thoughts on that? Worked for you all? Scale up in terms of vernacular marketing. Where do you see it going from here?
So interestingly, Dhani has a lot of audience in the tier 2 cities and tier 3 cities as well. And so I would say, so therefore vernacular marketing becomes critical, because we are offering mid-size tickets, little ticket size loans. So obviously the market lies in a lot more tier 2 cities, and so vernacular. I think with more than we evolving, it's also the platforms where we're putting up campaigns also evolving. So I think Google, Facebook, for that matter, has also evolved to offer vernacular capabilities for brands, and deliver vernacular capabilities for consumption, and so there has to be a demand and a supply. So we tried this, say, about 2-3 years back. It did not do very well for us. But now when we try this, it starts doing well for us. When people were talking about doing vernacular 2 years back, and we tried doing it, we genuinely did not get a lot of success. And that was, primarily because people, their devices, their functionalities, the apps that people were using were also not very vernacular friendly. But now as those things have evolved, almost all apps, all phones have languages options available and stuff. Vernacular becomes very, very critical, and you guys have been running one of our very strong vernacular campaign for us, and and you would vouch for that. Vernacular is working good for us. So definitely. But yeah, 2 years before it was not, and 2 years hence it is. So yeah,
I think the ecosystem has changed. Like you said, Geo has changed the ecosystem.
Yeah.
Cheaper mobile phones have changed the ecosystem, and definitely COVID as well has increased that consumption. Absolutely.
COVID has been good for digital marketers. People say that, but it has been. It's a new way of a new way of how people would be consuming media going forward.
No, absolutely. I think we're all riding that digital wave along. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We have a question from the audience as well, Ankit. So Sharanya's question is around, what channels have worked for you in terms of customer acquisition, and to what extent are you dependable on AI and machine learning and other such technologies?
Sure. So all channels work for us, and we keep experimenting all channels. So initially, so I think Google, Facebook definitely works for all of us. Fortunately, unfortunately, they're the largest media holders in the digital space. 70 to 80% of the audiences are on one of their platforms.
Yes.
or their ecosystem of platforms. So you definitely have to be on both of them. They're smarter than all of us always, so they have clubbed all of it, and now you don't choose a lot more things, and you leave their machine learnings to do a lot more things, specifically in the app campaign. So the power that digital also has, which was earlier we used to say we could select keywords, we could select locations, we could select target audience profiling. A lot of that has also been taken away with the machine learning and the AI that's being built in by the digital giants, because they want to keep all their learnings to themselves. Yeah, it's a fact. It's genuinely a fact. I always keep telling people Facebook would build something and then it would just change. And then what as marketers we would have spent money doing something, and then we didn't have that. And similarly with Google and all, also we kept building audiences on search and all of that, and we realized we can't do a lot of more things with them anymore because Google has restricted a lot of those things, which is, so it's in a way has its its benefits and its fall sides. But so machine learning AI comes naturally when you have to run app campaigns, is what my first point of view is. The second is that Google and Facebook are the largest, so we can't live without them, and therefore we use both of them in equal spirits. And the other thing we keep doing is use a lot more affiliates, but our focus would always be on Google, Facebook more than affiliates. And now what we've started doing is we've started looking at individual publishers, which have quality audiences, and that depend on what kind of product we're going for. So we do a lot more analysis in terms of seeing for this category of our product, is there a very, very contextually relevant place that we should definitely be there. And that's the supplement publisher networks that we add on to. So that's on Amazon. We did Amazon for Super Saver, and I think it did fairly well for us from a point of acquisition. So we keep experimenting with each and every. For example, for our stocks product, we will always prefer a money control because we know that a significant amount of right audience is sitting on that platform. So I think it depends on the product which we are advertising, that we would choose the medium, the platform.
Yeah. And what's next for Dhani, right? I mean, Dhani Doctor, I'm sure, is definitely one of the key focus areas, but what's the next 1 year looking like for you and the Dhani app?
Next 1 year is very exciting. Our products we're going to stabilize our products. We're going to, like I said, we're going to add more customer experience to our products. We're going to be doing a lot more. We're going to be expanding on the healthcare space. We're going to be introducing the new way of how India pays, which is the subscription model. We would not have like per interest costs. We won't have like processing fees. We won't have like per consultation. We are moving to a concept of how you will want it to do it, and which is the most convenient way of just paying once a fee and then just enjoying the services in an unlimited manner. That's how India is growing. So we're going to be in that unlimited space, and that's how we're looking at expanding the market from 2 million to about 20 million odd Dhani customers is what we foresee by 2023.
Yeah. Oh, that's fascinating. I think the hyperscale continues to happen and continues to grow. Maybe looking at something at your end as well, Ankit, is how has COVID impacted you, and have you taken up something new during the lockdown? Something that you tried out differently in the last 6-7 months?
On a personal front?
Yes.
No, I don't think so any digital marketer has got the time. Like I said, unlike other industries which got time to sit and do and reeval, I think we guys had like 2x the work than what we used to have earlier.
Yeah.
So not really. I had actually given up running, so I used to run a lot. And then by March I stopped running because of COVID came in, and then after like 6 months I realized that there is something missing. And which is just as much as in September end. So it's just been a month that I've gone back to running, and I just realized that I have to go back to my regular routine, otherwise I'll go mad. So and therefore I've started living a little better life, shutting off my laptop on time. Otherwise the first 6 months was very exciting. you're working from home and it's a new way of working. Be very challenging. You're on a digital sphere. See, you've left your personal life somewhere. I don't know where. While we're at our own homes, we don't have a personal life somehow. So I think after 6 months, I realized that this is how it's going to be. Either I get back to building a proper lifestyle, otherwise I will, I will get mad, and the productivity will only go down. So yeah, so I've gotten back to running. On this Sunday, I plan to do something interesting in terms of painting. YouTube have sent me some paint colors and
DIY vases. Yeah, you have to paint the vase.
Yeah, and I just feel maybe I'll do this on this Sunday. I'll do it with my son. So it's just and I sometimes these things help. So one day I just went to the market after like 3-4 months, and I came back and I was like so fresh. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to be a better, person, because 3-4 months, genuinely we didn't go really out.
Didn't step out,
Yeah, and with convenience coming in, everything used to come to your own house. We never had to really step out unless necessary. But that's actually kidding. So I would recommend that if you COVID now, this is how it is going to be. Accept the way the new normal is. Built in a lifestyle that perfectly works for you. Don't overstretch. Give yourself that time, because then you will be far better the next day than just working like 12 hours or 24 hours or 16 hours a day. It makes no sense. Just don't do that.
No, absolutely. In fact, most people we spoke to, even in the team, said the commute time from office to home was like the break that they had, right? And I think I figured that out. And now I do my walk right after the work, so that I have that half an hour, which is the break between my work and home life, right? Otherwise, it all sort of merges together into one big thing. So
yeah. And we should do it, we all should accept it, and we should do it. It's very important. Yeah,
absolutely. So I think with that, would love to hear any closing thoughts you have, Ankit, on any suggestion that you want to leave brands with. I think many of them are hyperscaling themselves. Anything that you want to leave them with?
No, I think what we need to leave everyone is that there is it's always an evolving thing on digital. Keep your ears to the ground. It's not what it is today. What works for me works for you. There is no one size fits all. Same things that everyone is talking about. It's easy to even say that, but when you start getting into the ground of it, if you realize it's actually true, you have to keep your ear. And people who keep their ears to the ground are going to move ahead. And there are enough and more opportunities that the platform is out there. If you have the eye for it, and if you have the thing for it, you will move forward. Plus, I'm also learning, so I have nothing, for me also every day is new, and I keep learning from everyone and keep sharing and talking, because so never think that you know it all, because you'll never know it all. It's always good to learn, and it's always good to experiment and move forward.
Yeah, digital is always evolving, so definitely lots for us to learn. But thanks for joining us today, Ankit. It's been a pleasure, and it's been a pleasure working with you and the team as well. Thanks so much for.
Thank you, Vikas.
Thank you. Thanks, Ankit.
Thank you, Ankit. I think you're always humble, and even with all the years of experience, always learning. And I think that attitude does come across in all the conversations we have with you. And thank you for always motivating the team as well to give it the best.
Thank you, Sunil. Thank you. So it's actually important. A lot of people just put pressure on their teams, and I just feel there's no point putting those unnecessary pressure. It is more about doing that right work, and let's just have the right attitude. That's more important. Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Ankit. Have a great day ahead, and thanks so much.